Dear brothers, good morning. For those of you keeping an eye on the video portion of this, if you're watching it on YouTube, which most of you aren't, I've got my Tennessee hat on this morning because my boys won the College World Series last night. Big championship, first one in history. That's why I probably sound a little tired this morning because, well, I was up a little late celebrating. It is what it is. Nonetheless, go Vols. That's what I'm starting with today. I'm going to make a few people mad. That's all right. They'll live. No, we're not going to talk about baseball today. I am going to talk about something that I have found too many men, including myself, are doing on a almost subconscious basis. And something that I think we need to put in check quickly because it is a sign that we are uncomfortable in our own skin far too often. And this actually popped up. So for those of you that don't know, I love what I would call fantasy books, if you will. So I just finished the second book not all that long ago of something called the Bloodsworn Trilogy. By John Gwynne, which I really recommend. The third book comes out, I think, in October, which I've already pre-ordered. Game of Thrones is obviously a famous series that I've always loved. House of Dragons going on right now. I'm trying to think about, there was a series that, Leo Carew wrote a series that I went through earlier this year. It was The Wolf, the Spider, and the Cuckoo. That was a fantastic series. Again, kind of a lot of lore. The Bloodsworn Trilogy is actually all Nordic lore, and it's super cool. But anyways, I digress on my rant about books that I've read. New series I just started by Anthony Ryan, and it's called the Draconis Memoria series, and the first book is called The Waking Fire. You guys can look that up. I'll try to remember to put it in the description. But in the book, in the very first maybe 3 chapters, there's 3 different points of view that you read throughout the book, 3 different characters. And one of them's name is Hilemore. And he's essentially a sea captain of sorts, or a first mate, if you will. And he's just getting to know the actual captain of the ship. And it's the first time that they've met. He's feeling him out, like what kind of man is he? What does he do? And he made this remark that stung. And I'm going to read it directly so you guys hear what I say. And so he's musing right now about the captain that he's speaking about. And he says, "A man engaged in a constant search for the weaknesses of others," Hilemore decided. "Perhaps the means by which he maintains faith in his own superiority." Now, I read and reread that quite a few times because I think that is actually something that plagues modern men quite a lot, is the fact that sometimes I think we do it so much it does become subconscious, but we are constantly looking for the weaknesses of other men specifically. I'll give you some examples. They aren't good enough at being a dad. They don't support their wife enough. They don't work hard enough to make the money that they need. Oh, all of that, all those issues they're facing at home right now is because they're undisciplined. They're weak in some capacity. And no matter what the thing we say about another man, even if we're just thinking it in our minds, we're always putting them down. And there's an old quote that my dad used to say all the time, and God knows where it came from, but he always used to say, whatever makes me smaller makes him taller, or whatever makes me taller makes him smaller, and whichever direction it was going in. And I think that that is actually something that modern men have adopted far too readily, is this idea that we have to, even if it's not verbally, mentally, we have to belittle others because it makes us feel better. It makes us feel, to Hilemore's point, it makes us feel like we have superiority. We have faith in our own excellence, if you will. And here's the truth of the matter. The more that we have to belittle others, even if it's just mental, the more that we have to tell ourselves of the weaknesses of other men, we're really just projecting the fact that we either have those exact same weaknesses or we have others that we're hiding and are unwilling to face. I think until each one of us has rid ourselves of all of our own weaknesses, we need to be awfully careful about what we're making judgments on with other men. Because I think it's become so easy in today's world, in the social media world where we have the internet and just constant stuff in front of our faces. We're constantly looking at other people. And when you're looking at other men, there's no reason for you to be demeaning any of them, judging them for whatever the reason might be. Yes, I understand it's fun to talk with your buddies and hoot and holler about X, Y, or Z. I get it. But I think it's become a far more sinister problem with men today is it becomes easier to look at others and point at all of their weaknesses because it makes us feel better, but it also stops us from looking at our own crap, our own demons that we have that we're not facing effectively. Maybe it's something along the lines of we talk about someone being undisciplined or what have you. You're like, that guy's undisciplined. They're never going to, I work in the performance field. There's plenty of people that I come into contact with that I'm like, they don't work hard. They don't show up. They don't do anything that they're supposed to do to help their health. They have all the resources. They have everything they need. And I catch myself judging that person immensely. Like, oh my gosh, what are they doing? I can't believe they're struggling with this. And as I think about that even now, how much stuff do I need to work on? I could be more disciplined with getting up first thing in the morning. I could be more disciplined about getting into certain books during the week. I could be more disciplined with journaling. I could be more disciplined with this podcast. I could be more disciplined with my gym schedule. It's not like any of those things are bad per se, but could I be better? 100%. Could I be a better communicator with my wife? Absolutely. So I think we need to really turn from looking at the weaknesses of other men, which, by the way, is almost useless. Unless it's your close friends and they're asking you like, hey man, I'm struggling with this, or what do you think I should work on? That's one thing. But most of the time it's just random people. It's acquaintances or people you've never met on the internet. And you're like, oh, what a piece of crap. What a piece of shit. Blah, 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 blah. Get rid of that. We need to be, as men, if we want to make progress in this world, we need to start looking in the mirror and taking care of our own problems. First, foremost, that will take you a lifetime to do in and of itself. So realistically, that should be the be all end all. However, if we're going to start looking at others, our main concern should be, are they becoming the best version of themselves? And if there is something I can do to contribute to that, I will. Otherwise, what they're doing is of no consequence to me. And I need to focus on my own stuff. And by focusing on my own stuff, I am contributing to the world. I'm taking care of my duty, as I've talked about on here and will continue to talk about, which is to work and to keep. So if I'm doing those things, if I'm doing what, God has called me to do, and I'm being the man I'm called to be, where do I have any time to look at the weaknesses of other men? And in doing so, you become an example to those men and to yourself for that end. And I'm not sure there's anything more beautiful, more illustrative of the good man than that. And so I want you guys to think on that today, is when you notice that your eyes are straying towards others and you're assessing their weaknesses, realize that might be you trying to just feel more superior. And guess what? You're not. So I need to think about that. I need to focus on that as much as anybody. But let's leave it at that today, boys. Go Vols again. World Series champs, baby. Here for it. Otherwise, brothers, God bless. Be strong. I love you all. Let's get after it today. See you, boys.